Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. We basically are discussing on the topic that is city creation. City creation basically are discussing on the topic that is future creation. In future creation, basically are discussing on the topic that is India account, Amazon account, and after 2 days, basically the big earthquake is going to come. So that is the topic basically which we are discussing. In this, basically one of the person basically asked the question. Yeah, basically how you know basically that Mumbai in '93 bomb blast basically the police was involved. So there are basically many websites basically which are against police department. If you write Google basically against police department websites, you will see lakhs of websites because Google says that basically police is our friend also and enemy also. So they take care of both sides basically. So basically, one of the police only basically asked basically assume that basically he asked me basically, because if any police department will see this video, then he will say that यार इसको कैसे पता है, how basically he know this everything basically, that basically they will ask the question basically, because in '93 bomb blast more than 300 people basically died, more than 300 people basically died. So they will be thinking basically how Sunil Arnar basically is knowing. So you do one thing, you search in Google police against websites, just search basically this basically I searched when basically I was in Mumbai basically, and that time basically I tracked that basically there was one website basically they have clearly written basically in this '93 bomb blast police was involved. And after basically few time basically when I watched that website, the website was not there. You can't imagine that basically. So somebody tracked that basically, that somebody actually that was, I think, someone's assignment basically. By mistake the Google basically published in public basically, because the person who might have created this website, he might not have thought that basically that his website will become public basically. That was basically his private, and mostly basically he that might be some reporter basically. That much basically I am 100% confident, and that basically become publicly basically. For example, I have written police against police websites. So when the I basically was at the number of, I think, 43 or 44th page basically in Google basically when you search police against websites. So first, second, third, fourth, five, like this basically. 44th number page basically was. I remember that page number also. So up to that level basically the reporters basically have the knowledge basically, because they are reporting they are basically reporting at the land level basically. Land level means they are see they basically displays everything basically. In that display they basically connect to police department, they connect to many departments basically, they sometimes connects to mafia groups also basically. And it might possible that some mafia group basically might have given this information. So from this website basically I cleared that basically the how basically I got this information. And this basically, I will tell you basically, Google basically has cleared lots of website basically. After I think 2014 or 15 basically, because lots of website basically has been cleared. So that means somebody basically from USA basically might have tracked that also. That '93 bomb blast basically was happened. That was directly written by that. I think mostly it was reporter only basically, but 100% not sure basically, because it's I think 16 years before talk basically I'm talking about. When basically I was in Mumbai basically, when basically I was working in one of the company basically in Mumbai. That time basically cyber cafe was there basically, but nowadays basically the single cyber cafe does not exist in Mumbai basically. So you can imagine, because nowadays everywhere basically internet is there, mobile are there. In mobile only basically they watch the internet. So you can just imagine basically. So that's basically different thing. Basically, that basically is the thing. So one of the person again back to power supply. One person told that, yeah, Sunil, basically you previously basically told that basically that land basically produced tomato. Tomato is going to produce this many ideas. So police department basically might be there of that ideas basically. Because when legally tomato was authorized, that time basically this law department also basically was there. Because if tomato will think up to this level, this all law basically is going to be applicable. In that basically, few criminal law also basically might have connected. Because tomato basically connects to potato, tomato basically connects to fruits energy. Like this basically many energy basically it connects. Many energy with basically it connects. So you can just imagine basically. So one of the person told that that might be possible. So one person told that that might be possible. So that person basically told that that might be possible. So just so one person told that that might be possible. So reporters group basically knows lots of things. Reporters group basically know because they see everything basically. Because they takes an interview of each and every group basically. So they basically might have got some information basically from because they connects with police department also. They might have connected basically when they might have drunk basically. Because reporters basically are very dangerous group basically. They keeps on watching each and every group basically. So it might possible that he might have collected this information when that police department or mafia group basically might have drunk. So one of the person told that that might be possible. So that might be possible. So just so one person told that might be possible. So here basically what we discussed. Here one basically thing basically we discussed is about the law. Law basically are created on the base of power supply basically the particular object basically gives. What basically I told? Power supply the particular object gives. So power supply is what? Tomato basically when you use the tomato basically your body basically generates energy. And when basically your body generates energy, that time it is going to produce something basically from your body. You might be doing these, you might be doing that, you might be doing that. So it might possible that basically some criminal activity also basically you might connect. Why? Because it might possible that in previous day basically you might have eaten some combination basically, and that combination basically it connects to tomato energy basically. That might it time basically that might be possible that basically you connect to criminal activity. What activity? Criminal activity. And that activity basically which was recorded by the law department, that is the high court and supreme court. So just see basically up to what level things are connected. Because this is one error basically when you connect to criminal activity, this has connected to error basically. This connects to error basically. That is the criminal activities. So one person basically told that It connects to criminal activities. So like this, one of the person told them the group basically who has created the tomato music, right? They have given the contract to Bollywood group basically because Bollywood group are connected everywhere basically because they are the responsible person basically. If anything basically is unexpected happening, so reporter basically are after basically coming, but Bollywood group basically comes before basically before the live incidents basically happen. Here basically they checks each and everything, and then basically it goes to the market basically. So tomato activity will is each and every activity basically they checks, and then basically the tomato goes into the market. Then basically it goes into the market. So one person told that that's strange here basically we actually never thought this basically. So one person told that one data basically the Supreme Court and High Court basically might not be having. So I'm basically not telling that basically they have done mistake basically, but it's a huge process basically. That's why it might have left basically. The combination, the thing basically which has left basically that might be the combinations of each and every human needs basically in this world basically assume that there are around more than 20 lakh human needs. So the combination of entire 20 lakh multiplied by 20 lakh, that data High Court and Supreme Court basically is not having. Why? Because it is connecting to the chain basically. 20 lakh multiply by 20 lakh. Process happening. Then connect to 20 lakh. Like this basically it keeps on multiplying. So this data basically Supreme Court and High Court basically is not having. If they might be having basically. If they basically might have collected this long before, then corona disease basically might have tracked long before. And more than crore people basically might have saved also. So that is basically different point. So that is basically the medical department. Medical department. So one person told that law department basically need to track each and every activity. That one person basically is doing criminal activity basically. So what is behind that criminal activities he is doing? Behind means that is basically ideas only basically. Because एक idea जो बदल दे आपकी दुनिया. That basically one slogan is there. Then that is 100%. So one person told 6 crore multiply by 20 lakh. Multiply by 20 lakh. This keeps on multiplying. And there is no calculator basically in this world which will calculate. It will convert to hexa basically. And hexa basically you have to convert to one number basically. And that's very dangerous thing basically. That much combination of energy basically is generated. So one human body basically generates this much. How much? 6 crore multiply by 20 lakh. Multiply by 20 lakh. And that keeps on multiplying. That is of one body basically. Like this, how many bodies basically are there? There are more than 900 crore bodies. So just see the combination basically you see. So if one person basically say that basically now one day basically human basically can produce one planet, then it's 100% correct. So human basically are doing very dangerous tasks basically per day. Per day basically they are doing very dangerous tasks. So just so they are doing very dangerous tasks. So group basically who created the world basically they might basically understand this video basically what actually I want to say. But in that basically the combinations basically if I say that basically 6 crore multiply by 20 lakh multiply by 20 lakh equal to idea, then it will be right or wrong. Then one person told that it's 100% correct. Because here basically 6 lakh multiply by 20 lakh multiply by 20 lakh equal to ideas, then basically this keeps on rotating. Why? Because once you connected to ideas, it connects to more ideas. It connects to more ideas, and that basically will. That is basically connecting to more ideas. So you can just imagine up to what level the world, and this world is basically already created. World is already created. So somebody basically has done the backup of the world also. That is also there. Why? Because world is very dangerous. Per day, basically, world energy basically can generate one planet. So you can just imagine how much energy basically is in this world basically. It's like a nuclear bomb basically. I'm telling you, nuclear bomb in universe basically. Because from one planet basically, from one day basically, the Earth planet basically energy generates one planet. So how much year basically? It's more than 5 crore year. So 5 crore planet basically they have already generated. Minimum basically it might not be 5 crore because 5 crore basically is the age of planet. But human basically has not basically stayed for 5 crore. They basically had ended their generation. Few gaps basically was there. Again basically the generation started of human. Like this lots of basically generation has ended and lots of things basically has happened. So you can't calculate 100% 5 crore. So you can't basically calculate like this. So one of the person told that that's very strange basically. That's very strange. Basically. So one person told that that's very strange here. Because we never thought this. So one person basically told that before human body basically connects to this whole thing basically, the environment connects to everything basically. That is as if that basically 3 lakh planet basically land is giving the power supply to whole world human needs. That is tomato, potato, computer, electronic things, mobile, power supply, human body's data, then cement, the construction items, the sea water. Water is basically like becoming water basically how it is. Because there are power supply basically which is getting supplied. Otherwise basically it will convert to lava or basically stand basically what don't know basically what is going to convert. So that's very dangerous thing. Power supply basically is getting supply to water basically. That's why basically it's behaving like a water basically. Otherwise it will convert to something else basically, that you can't able to imagine also. Even world creator also basically might not have thought up to that level basically the water will convert up to the stuff basically. If the power supply basically is not getting passed to the water. So one person told that yeah, ये मतलब कैसे होता है basically how this everything is working. So this building basically standing, that is on the base of power supply you want to say? Yes, basically that is 100% sure. This specs basically is behaving like a specs. The reason is this is getting power supply. You want to say that basically Sunil? Yes, Sunil Lama told that yes, basically. You are 100% correct. So just a minute. So one person told that, yeah, that means the world basically is behaving like a world that is power supply. Because world is behaving like a world that is main basically. After that, basically this Earth planet basically comes into the picture. So one person told that what actually you told here basically we are not getting. So one example basically I will take. I am basically in Earth planet, right? So I will take the example of Earth planet. One person basically told that basically this system basically you have to design. So he told that basically that system basically you have to design in computer basically. So doctor basically came, doctor told that basically I can't design here basically. So one project manager came. He told that basically okay I will design it basically. So he done SDLC, everything basically told he prepared a PMP, he prepared scope level plan, he basically prepared assume that basically project we have got basically. So proposal plan everything basically is accepted. After that basically the project is scope level, communication level plan, every plan basically, quality level plan, then um, scope level is there, then UTC is there, then project specification plans are basically there. So like this basically many plans are there, budget level plans are there, cost level plans are there. So change control level plans basically are there. That is the control level department. That is the change control level departments. There is one department also basically. You can't able to imagine basically that in software industry there is one department basically called change control management plan basically. That basically says that basically, for example, customer basically is telling that basically we want more change requests basically. So they will check the proposal plan basically. In proposal plan basically they have signed that basically we can do up to two change requests basically. If we will asking basically four, five basically, that will be chargeable. Why? Because in proposal basically they have signed basically. So you can just imagine basically up to what level software industries basically have to be very clear basically about the software basically which they are creating basically. So just so one person told that because if you will not get clear na basically after certain time basically it will create problem to you only. They will keeps on asking change request, change request, change request, change request, change request. That means one person told that they were basically not clear about their plan basically. That is one thing. Another is they basically are creating this system basically live. Live means sometimes basically there are many system basically in banking industry only. According to the data basically they gets the system gets designed. So they told that basically this is the data basically we have available. We basically having. So this is the data basically which we are basically available. We are basically having this data just now, and they clear that basically according to the data basically which they are we are going to get according to got information basically. It might possible that system will get changed basically. So it might possible that its direction also basically might have changed. So they have the base of the all the data. So they told that basically they have some 35 fields, 35 tables basically. That all are the base basically. On the base of basically they created one system basically. But on the base of 35 table basically, other tables are going to come basically. So that's basically the system basically. So they told that basically there are many live system basically that basically are created according to the live data basically. So they told that okay basically. So like this basically they were getting the data, they were changing the system. They were getting the data, they were changing the system. They were getting the data, changing the system. Getting the data, changing the system. Here basically change board basically can't do anything. Why? Because they have signed the bond. That whatever change will come, that basically change they are going to do. So whatever change basically they are going to come, they are going to do. So one person told that यार क्या है क्या है, totally confused है, the world basically is what basically. So one person told this word basically, it good thing basically, that is the power supply land basically, which is for example in Canada basically 2 lakh power supply basically is having from that land, that is basically empty land, or basically there's something basically has created, because lots of possibilities are there. Because one of the person ये तो यार खाली पड़ा हुआ है land basically, we will create something basically here, because lot time before basically, that is basically long time before basically, the people basically was not aware about the thing basically. So it might possible that some land basically might be there basically, which is having the construction basically, and that is very dangerous. Few people says that basically if you check that data basically, after that basically you take the decision. So here possibilities are two things. One is positive and negative, because few blood cells basically can't accept the data basically. That is power data basically, which is coming with the help of that creation basically. And few blood cells group basically say that basically that is good for us. But you have to think globally basically. So that data basically can be used to other also. But that basically the people basically who are staying there, their life basically is very dangerous. Why? Because satellite group basically are passing the data to that land, and that is very dangerous. That is very dangerous thing. So one person told that that is very dangerous thing. So one person told that this is also one of the data science project. How many power supply basically? One person told that yeah, tomato ka power supply basically. One person basically of the human need basically department. He basically is very what to say basically enthusiastic person basically. Enthusiastic means basically you can say energetic basically. That also you can say. So he told that basically yeah, basically I wanted the data of tomato basically. So it was that one person basically was not able to get basically what actually you want to say. Then he explained basically that tomato basically when you consume basically in your body, it basically generates blood cells. That blood cells basically require some energy basically. So that power supply basically gives. That basically comes from land basically. That land basically you can see that is specially created for the tomato basically. So before basically the tomato basically was created basically. The power supply basically was created for that tomato. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the world has created. So the human needs basically which you see basically in the world basically. Their power supply basically has created long before. So one person told that this data basically might be having basically, mostly basically nobody might be having. But it might possible that basically it might be having also. Why? Because you are getting power supply of tomato. When you are eating tomato, you are not getting disease basically. You are basically not getting disease. You are getting the energy. That means some department basically is having that data. So that department basically you have to connect basically. Because if you are having the tomato and if you are not getting the disease, that means energy basically is there of tomato basically in power supply, and power supply group basically are taking the data from land. That means, but you it's very difficult to track basically that land. Why? Because it's a nuclear group basically. They can't give basically. They might be having basically. They might be mostly basically might be having, but exact land location basically it might be difficult. But they are connected basically with everywhere. So mostly basically they might be having. But that time basically is very dangerous. So that basically, according to the time, basically you have to adjust to collect the data. But that's very difficult. But then also basically this data is required because it might possible in this world basically assume that basically because why basically this is important that basically one person told that in the world basically around 200 crore basically tomato people consumes daily. Just taking as an example. In really basically the number might be double, triple, fifth time, 10 time basically. So here basically we are taking some minimum number. 200 crore basically tomato basically human basically consumes daily. Human basically consumes daily. That land basically is producing power of tomato. So that data basically they have collected. That is the nuclear power company, energy company, and power. Something basically happened to that land. Something basically happened to that land. Now what is basically going to happen? The 200 crore tomato basically who has consumed basically, if that land basically is not getting recovered properly basically, then this 200 crore basically tomato, the group basically who had it basically, as a human need basically, they will stand guard, they basically will connect to disease basically. That is Bimari. They will connect to disease. They will connect to disease. So one person told it, yeah, are you sure basically you are telling me? This everything basically medical department basically knows everything in advance. The reason they produce the medicine, and this basically doesn't happen day or night. Basically, it takes time. Basically, so whenever basically you assume that basically this medicine basically demand basically is increasing in the market. Increasing the market means the shopkeepers basically purchase the medicine from the medicine creation group basically, and when this data basically get increased, that time basically assume that basically some problem basically has happened in tomato disease, in tomato energy disease. So that basically you can give the name as a tomato disease, but they basically can't spoil the name basically of tomato. So they will never give the name as tomato disease. Why? It's a human need basically, and you basically are spoiling the name. Basically. But reality is this basically. The lead that lead basically converted into some problem, and tomato basically human needs basically got affected. Human need basically got affected, and and the disease spread basically. So one person told that yeah to eat. So the person basically who eats the food and basically that are the rich people basically they eats food with perfect plan basically. The normal person basically will eat basically anything. But the people like Ambani's, Tata's, then the Mittal groups, then the Adani groups basically, they eat tomato also not then basically. That is perfectly planned basically. Why? Because if their body basically will get effect to some disease, so daily basically they are earning more than 5,000, 10,000 crore. Sometimes basically people are earning more than 50,000 crore, 80,000 crore. So that will effect to 80,000 crore. So one person told that that is basically the rich group basically. So one person told that how basically this can be tracked. Yeah, basically. That is basically the project na, basically which you are going to create, which basically the one of the software company is going to create, and this project basically will get in on demand basically. This project will get on demand. That also basically highly demand basically. I'm telling you. But some group basically is having this project that is 100% sure. Because when basically you are having the tomato, the power basically you are getting. Otherwise, basically you might have got disease basically. You had tomato potato, and that land basically got some problem where basically the potato power is coming. That might possible, na, basically. Because nothing is perfect basically in this world. So it might possible. Basically. So one person told that the IT industry basically are going to play very dangerous role basically. And they are playing basically. And if they basically might be having this project, then basically they might be going to earn lots of money basically. Because one day income basically that is 90,000 crore of rich people basically. But normal person basically I can't earn 500 rupees also. I basically can't earn 500 rupees. So one person told that that's very dangerous thing. Yeah, basically. That's very dangerous thing. We just now basically we discussed. So you want to say the 3 lakh land basically which is producing the power supply, that basically power data basically is required because it might possible one land basically might be producing tomato, potato, karela, brinjal, then potato, then palak, every basically power supply. It might possible that entire vegetable basically might be producing by that land basically. Because this is the possibility. Because you can't differentiate basically tomato here in this land, in this country, power supply basically, and potato basically coming from other country. That is not possible here basically. Practically, it is not possible because there are more than 20 lakh human needs. 20 lakh human needs basically. So one person told that how dangerous thing here basically you have discussed basically in this video basically. How dangerous thing basically you have discussed. So one person told that. So how the power supply basically might have created. That also basically one of the person basically asked the question. So for that one person basically told that to do the complete rehearsal basically how the world has created. See basically what actually I am telling basically. Somebody basically is doing the rehearsal basically how the world basically has created on the base of software industry. So from software industry basically he's tracking the entire creation basically which is done from SAP Energy, Salesforce Energy, Microsoft Energy, PHP Energy, C Energy, C++ Energy, Java Energy, Python Energy, IBM Mainframe Energy, Pascal Energy, D2K, Visual Basic, every energy basically are dumped into that land. Basically. So one person told that somebody basically is checking the entire creation basically, which is done. So one person told that it might be possible because he might have got confused with it. But possibilities confusion are very less. But the possibilities of this is basically more basically the cancer disease basically which connects. How? As in that basically that land basically is producing vegetables. So how basically the nuclear power company basically might be knowing that that vegetable basically which that land basically is producing in that land basically this vegetable basically energy is getting over. Over means It's getting weaker. कमजोर हो रहा है. So if basically it's getting weak, that means the energy is also going to become weak, and that is going to affect the entire body basically, and that basically might convert to cancer disease. So just a minute. So one person told that how basically this can be tracked. So one person told that by getting cancer disease only. So human basically is playing very dangerous basically role. That time basically 80 years before, 70 years before, the people basically was getting cancer disease, and the group basically was doing the medicine treatment basically. But now the technology has changed. The people basically is having the data of that 3 lakh land. The people basically knows that basically that one land basically is producing vegetables, fruit, vegetable, all types of vegetables, energy basically that land is producing. But that basically the government can do basically. That is not possible. This type of task really government can't do because government might not be knowing also. So one of the person told that then who might be knowing this here? That is question because government might be knowing that basically the vegetables power basically supply is coming from their area. That is not possible. So other than government basically groups who are handling the entire world basically, that group basically might be doing. That from that land basically the vegetables power supply is coming, and that vegetable basically is producing less energy, that is weaker energy basically, weak energy basically it's producing. Due to that basically the cancer disease might occur, and cancer disease basically connects also. Why? Because you have to recorrect basically everything basically. That basically takes time basically. So in that time basically lots of people says that the demand basically which is basically ongoing, against that demand basically supply basically has to stop it. But that's very difficult because lots of people says that there are many people basically if they basically don't have that human need basically they will die with. Up to that level the blood cells has created of each and every human needs. So that data is also basically required. Which just now basically I told. One person told that if he will not have that pani puri, he will die. But why he will die? Yeah, basically. He will not have the pani puri basically. Why he will die? So that type of data basically is also. So one person told that that land basically is the land basically which is producing the vegetables energy. That is the vegetable power. And that data basically the group basically is handling the data science project. They might be having because that is the role of data science group basically. Who are the professor group? So one person told that the demand is going to increase, demand is going to reduce. Who knows basically first? That are the professor group basically, who is handling the entire demand and supply of each and every items. So the colleges basically who are the into the study department, that is the energy education department, they know basically first. Why? Because they are connected with the data. They get the data first of the market. Basically. The normal person basically, the software company also basically, they basically also don't get the data. So the colleges group basically is having different governments data, which basically the software company is not having. So what demand is going to increase, what demand is going to reduce, what the supply going to increase, what supply is going to reduce. That all data basically they have. So just So one person told that that's very dangerous thing here. Basically, you discussed this. Basically, is very dangerous thing. Basically, which you have discussed. So one person told that this basically, I think nobody basically in the software company basically might be having the data. So that doesn't mean that basically Sunil is bloody fool basically. Lots of people says that ये तो बकवास वीडियो है basically. He's doing time pass. Lots of people will says that ये तो नाटक कर रहा है basically. But this is fact basically. You don't have this data. So somebody basically might be watching this video. He will do the copyright basically of that project basically. Whoever basically might be, because nowadays basically the project copyright basically happens just within 1 minute basically, because that type of system basically has created. Within 1 minute basically they will write the requirement basically just in one or two line basically, and they will do the copyright basically. You can't imagine basically that type of world basically has created. So task start basically. Daily basically 1 lakh, 2 lakh project basically gets generated within 1 or 2 second basically, 1 or 2 minute basically, at least basically some, because entire basically process basically happens. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the world basically has reached. Up to what level the world basically has reached. So just a minute. So one person told that yeah, we actually never thought this basically. Just now basically you told, if we might have thought this long before, that is 80 years before basically, lots of people basically might not have connected to cancer disease, might not have connected with the cancer disease. So one person told them, one person basically long before who basically was seeing watching this video, he told them, yeah, Sunil basically might have got basically birth 80 years before basically, because at least basically somebody basically might have given this idea basically. But this idea basically is already exists basically, already exists basically. But the software industry basically don't have the permission because it's very dangerous software basically, which is going to create lots of issue also. So it might possible that somebody basically might not have launched this software in front of the business department, because software is launched. That means it is going to just connect to the business basically. And business everybody knows basically up to what level business happens. Up to what level business happens basically, that everybody knows. Few example basically we have already discussed in the previous video basically. On the name of Ram temple basically, what are the things basically done basically. And one example of the Bangalore city basically, cricket basically. On the name of cricket basically, he got HIV AIDS basically. He got AIDS just on the basis of cricket basically. So one person told that cricket basically is good for or bad basically. And one person told this also. 95,000 basically crore was collected. And for what purpose basically they have collected, that we have already discussed. So one person told that cricket basically are doing negative tasks basically, or basically they have got only negative tasks. That is also possible because nobody basically do this type of task. The cricketer basically are involved in 95,000 collection. So you can imagine basically, and they are basically giving the autograph to public. Police basically are giving the protection. Television basically group basically takes the interview. Reporter group basically takes the interview. How was basically the match? That reporter group basically knows that he has collected 95,000 crore. For what purpose basically it has collected? Up to that level basically information reporter group basically also don't have. Why? Because news is channel is also one of the business basically, which is handled by set of groups and they are doing business basically. So they will launch the perfect news at perfect time only. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the world basically has reached. And this world is already created basically. You can't do anything. You can't do anything now. So lots of people says that सीधे लोगों का तो काम ही नहीं है यहाँ पे. They should basically leave India basically immediately basically. So one person told that Sunil basically you are supposed to leave India long before basically. One person basically told that also because you are basically सीधा साधा. But I know everything system each and every system basically which I have recorded basically that is basically part of the government system. That is a part of government system. That is a part of government system. So one person told that that is the world basically which is created. So just a minute. In nowadays basically world to become Hindu basically it has become Shrap basically. Because I am the example basically. I visited Mumbai, I have not got the job. I visited Bangalore, I have not got the job. Why? Because I am Hindu basically. And that is fact basically. You will not able to understand this basically properly. I am not telling that basically this is done by some other caste basically. It might possible that some internal group basically might be doing this basically to create problem to Sunil Nair basically. That is also possible. But if you collect the data basically, you will get the information that Hindus are basically connecting to lots of problems. And they have connected also basically. It might be possible basically. But we don't have the data basically. So one person told that instead of fighting basically, change the caste only na basically. So you run basically from that caste. Run chhod basically that is basically one given name given. Run ko chhod de. Run chhod. So one person told that that might be possible, yeah, basically. You might be telling correct also. You might be telling correct also. But this type of data basically nobody might be having or having basically. Having basically. That might be having basically. That's why basically the problems are creating them basically. The problem basically are not reducing basically. The problems are increasing. That means somebody have the data. Who is connecting to the market basically. He's having the data and he's basically increasing the problem. He's supposed to reduce the problem, but he is increasing the problem. But that is not the solution. He is telling that basically business है भाई क्या करें. But on the name of business basically you can't finish the Hindu caste basically because like this slowly Hindu caste will end with. That is also basically possible. But possibilities only basically we can say. We basically can't discuss the reality basically, the fact. What is the fact? What is the reality fact? So mostly people basically told that basically the problem basically you might be creating that might be, you have basically you are basically doing 35 years fasting basically of Hanumanji. So that group only basically might be creating problem basically. That is Sri Ram group and Hanuman group basically. There is no basically other group basically have the rights. They might be creating problem. So one person told that leave Hindu caste basically. Go to some other caste. That also one of the person basically given the suggestion. So after having this much knowledge basically for not getting the job, that means Hinduism basically is problem basically, and Hindu caste basically is creating problem basically. Because Hindus basically are in India only basically. Hindu basically are in India only. Other than world basically, Hindu basically number basically are very less. So that might be the problem. One of the person basically told that also. But this connects to problem. This connects to problem. This connects to problem. So one person told that might be possible. So here topic is what? One project basically which anybody basically who watch this video, they will basically might be copywriting this video basically. That is the project basically, that is the requirement, that is that land basically is producing vegetables data. That land basically some area basically got weak. Power supply when basically it was collecting, that time basically they tracked this, and then basically they tracked basically, but they were not able to track perfectly, so they ignored and the cancer disease basically connected. Because nobody is perfect basically. Nobody in this world basically say that basically we are perfect. We are perfect basically, nobody can say this. Nobody can say this, that basically we are perfect. That is the main thing. So in this world basically nobody can say that basically we are perfect. So one person told that the power supply basically, that is the 3 lakh land basically, that is playing the main role. So here the 3 lakh land combination basically data anybody is having. 3 lakh multiply by 3 lakh. After that only basically the tomato creation basically happens. So one person told that that basically might be having or basically not good, might be having. That basically need to check basically whether basically this data is having or not having. That only basically nuclear power company only basically can give it. That data basically the nuclear power company only basically can give you. Nobody else basically have the data. And they might be having data also. Basically. Why? Because when you are eating tomato, you are not getting connecting to disease. When you are eating potato, you are not connecting to disease. That means they have the data. But that time basically is very crucial. So they will help also, they will not help. So one person told that 3 lakh land basically power supply, that is the combination. And on the base of that basically the world is world. World is behaving like a world. Potato is behaving like a potato. Tomato is behaving like a tomato. How basically it is? Water basically is behaving like a water. This water basically drink basically is behaving like a drink basically. But how basically it is? That is through that power supply. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this topic basically which we have discussed just